if you want to learn Spanish, I just want to tell you that learning Spanish has been one of the most fulfilling achievements of my entire life, right? I've done a lot of things. I've traveled, I've been able to dunk a basketball, I've done a lot of cool things, but I would say that the most the most like I said fulfilling thing for me was learning Spanish because it really changed my entire life. I mean, everything I have, everything I'm doing right now, I can essentially attribute it to learning Spanish. So like when I before I had a very 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 negative or closed minded mindset, right? Like I thought like everybody who spoke Spanish was Mexican, and you know I just what they say is we fear what we hate what we no we fear what we don't understand, and we hate what we can't control. So I was very fearful. I just when I heard somebody speaking Spanish around me, I was just like, huh? Are they talking about me? Why are they speaking another language around me? This is so scary. This is what will I ever do? And then now that I learned Spanish, it's so funny because like I'll be in the store or I'll be like traveling or things like that, and I'll hear people speaking Spanish around me, and it's like, but they're just talking about their life. Ain't nobody worried about me. Ain't nobody sitting there just talking shit about me behind my back. They don't even know me. Why would they talk about me? So that was like a very eye opening experience. Like I remember one time I was on a train and I was listening to some people, and they were just talking about like they had to pay a ticket, or something like they had to go to court and things like that. Just every other day shit everybody else has to deal with. And I was like, wow, that's so crazy. Like I really thought that like people were sitting up here talking about me. Like that's such a crazy mindset to have. It's like nobody's talking about you, dude. Like nobody cares, dog. Like, and then the next thing that really changed was that like the amount of people I've met, right? So like during COVID, I went to Guadalajara, Mexico, because like that was like at that time the only place that was like open, and I just wanted to. Flights were like really cheap, so I was like, I'm gonna go ahead and go. And I went there, and everything was shut down. So I was thinking about leaving, but then I had got to this Airbnb where there's like a whole bunch of other people there, and this was like such an incredible experience for me. I'm talking about like it was like a few people that spoke a little English here and there, but majority of people spoke Spanish. So when I was there, I was literally just like entranced. I mean, I was just like just entrenched in Spanish, like every like. So when I heard people arguing, people like happy, people celebrating, people sad, just all it was so many different emotions that I was understanding, and I was like, wow, like this is so crazy. It just really opened up my mind to like different experiences, and like I wouldn't have been able to have that if I didn't speak Spanish. Like I I was some really really cool people that I met in Guadalajara. Like they gave me the name El Huicho, right? That was really cool. You know what I mean? It was like it's like they recognized me as somebody I really took the time to learn the language, and I was communicating with them, and they called me El Huicho, and then it was so cool. I was like, wow, I never, I was like, wow, that's such a cool name. Like that's like like El Chapo. I was like, oh snap, because Huicho, like my name is Louis, and like in Spanish, Huicho is like a nickname. How you got like Chuck for Charles, so Huicho is like that for Louise in Spanish. So I was like, oh man, that's so cool. I was like, I'm El Huicho, man. That's fire, man. That's so fire. I was like, oh man, oh man, I would have never thought of that. But then they gave me that name, and it was so cool, man. So I really appreciated that, man. I never forget that, man. That's why my name on my YouTube handle is El Huicho, because I just want to embody that, man, because I just feel like that's like me putting out to the world like what who I am and how I changed and what I learned and just things like that. And also too, another thing about learning Spanish, how it changed my life is just that when I'm able to help people, right? So I've told this story probably before, but if you're new here, I'll tell it again. So I was coming home from Mississippi. That's where I'm from. I was coming back this way on the West Coast, and there was a group of Mexican migrants who were coming from Mississippi. I think they were going to Idaho to work. And the lady at the front desk, she didn't speak Spanish, and then they didn't speak English. And it was such a like it was so frustrating for both parties. And the line to get into the plane was very long because this airport isn't that big. It's not like a huge airport like international. But they didn't have any like Spanish speakers there at the time. And it was like I could tell she was getting really frustrated. Like she was like really trying to like ask them a question and they couldn't understand things like that. So I was like, okay, let me see if I can help. So I went up there. I said, hey, I speak Spanish, and that was so like, man, that. So then I was explaining to her. I was explaining to them what she said, and I told her what they said. I was going back and forth. And I'm talking about the line just like that. I'm talking about we just the line snapped like that, like it was just immediately. And then I noticed it was funny thing about it. What the lady at the front desk was worried about really wasn't that big of a deal. It's just added on frustration, not being able to communicate, made the situation worse. And then once she was able to communicate what she needed to communicate, like she wasn't even really stressing no more. And then they weren't stressing either. And it was such a beautiful thing. And then uh, once we got on the plane, we got off the plane, we went to Houston, and then I was like their tour guide too. It was pretty fun. I really helped them out. And I just feel like, people, when you put out good karma in the world, people are gonna bring it back to you, right? So, and I always say, like, if my parents were in a situation, or somebody I love, some family member I love was in a situation, and they needed help like that, I would hope somebody would help them, right? So I did that. I put out that good energy to the world, and Spanish allowed me to do that, right? As a matter of fact, this actually happens a lot often than you would think. I'm always in the airport being like a being like a volunteer translator. That is always like that. I'm always the person who has to communicate things. And you would think airports would have more Spanish translators, but I guess I don't know. I guess it's just the I don't know. I guess it's the market economy. I don't know. I guess it just is what it is. But yeah, so that was really so that's what it is, man. Like I said, so I've grown. I've been able to learn. I've been able to help people. It's just so many ways that just Spanish has just changed my life, and I just really hope that you can change your life as well. Because if you learn it, because learning Spanish is a monumental feat. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care how much Spanish you see. Like you see a lot of people who are bilingual, and you think like, oh man, everybody's bilingual. It's not a special thing. No, that's not true. That is not true at all. If you are an adult, because I learned around like I was like 25, 26, so I was an adult, and if you learn Spanish, that is a monumental achievement. I don't care what anybody tells you. That is something to be proud of. That's something that you should always cherish, right? And I want you to learn Spanish too, because how I look at it, the more people who are bilingual, the more the people who have the privilege to learn to become bilingual makes the world a better place, right? Because a lot of things that are happening, a lot of like I said in the example with the airport, a lot of people are just frustrated because of the lack of communication. And once that communication barrier, that language barrier is dropped, you see how like everything's just cool and smooth. Everything's just is good to go. So with this, like the purpose of why I teach Spanish and the purpose why I want you to learn Spanish. If you watch this video, you definitely probably want to learn Spanish, right? You become a world builder. You build bridges. You don't burn bridges. You build communities. You don't tear them down. You know what I'm saying? That's what we need to do. We need to build bridges and build communities. Anybody can tear somebody down, but how many people can build somebody up? Anybody can destroy a house, but how many people can build a house? Right? That's what's gonna set you apart from everybody else. And I don't even know, like I said, that's just my story. And I got tons of stories about Spanish. But I really want to know where your story is gonna be, right? Because it doesn't, like, everybody's different. Everybody has different skills. Everybody has different lives. Everybody has different interests. So I don't know. You could become, I don't know, by learning Spanish, you become an actress or actor or a director, a movie producer, or you could build an app that helps people speak Spanish. You could be like a realtor or something that needs. But it's all these different things that people need that aren't being satisfied yet because we don't speak Spanish or that person doesn't speak Spanish. And there's so many like gaps in the market and so many just deficiencies and things that can be improved upon that that we can fill in together, right? Like, so I can't do it all, right? I can't do it. I've done some things, right? I have helped people, and I'm helping people now and things like that. But if I help you learn Spanish, I can help you change your life, and you can change other people's lives too. So it becomes like a compounding effect, right? So that good karma I was talking about, now we're spreading like global karma. You know what I'm saying? Like karma is good all around the world. So that's really my mission in this, right? Because I know how much Spanish changed my life. I know it can change your life, right? And Now you'll probably hear, like I said earlier about me being 25, you probably hear people say things like, "Oh man, I'm too old. I'm just, man, I should have learned it when I was a kid." Nah, that's rubbish. Oh, that's bullshit. Ah, that's rubbish. Don't listen to any of that. If you can speak English, you can speak Spanish. And if you see anybody speaking Spanish, why can't you? It's the only difference is I can diagnose this issue. The reason why you're struggling with Spanish because you were using traditional Spanish learning methods like back in the past, right? Instead of having a Spanish learning system like I talk about in my like that I have, right? Spanish learning system is going to allow you to you know speak Spanish faster, be engaged, have like a foundational set that you can always fall back on, and give you the keys on how to engage with people and how to immerse yourself in Spanish the right way. So that way you don't have to be dependent on other people. You can always look, you can always be independent. You can become a flexible learner instead of like being dependent on like a tutor or like, a YouTube tutorial or Duolingo energy challenges, whatever it's doing now. Um, and just have that, right? And just become independent because independence is how we do most things. Because you know, sometimes the best things we learn are things we self learn, right? And the reason why so many people fall off is because the old way of learning, like we're in a very technological, advanced modern society, right? Those old ways, that's just, oh, you need a new way. You need a modernized approach. And that's what the Spanish learning system allows, right? You don't need to memorize a bunch of vocabulary words. You don't need to do Duolingo challenges. You don't need to find a Spanish girlfriend and things like that. You don't, none, you don't need that. You can have a Spanish learning system. You can learn, you know, as long as you and it's designed to wherever the amount of work you put in, you get out of it, right? So just getting the Spanish learning system isn't gonna just download Spanish in your brain. No, it has like specific guidelines, specific steps that push you to get out of your comfort zone and push you to become a better Spanish speaker. And anything you're deficient in and need help in, Spanish learning system also, addresses those as well and how to improve. So that way you're always independent and you don't need anybody else. You can always just look at yourself and just improve, right? So, and I guess I'll leave with this. Some of the best things in life require time. So I'm not here to tell you that learning Spanish is something that you're gonna learn in 30 days, 60 days, something like that. But it could be a lot faster. You can learn it in months though, instead of like years. I'm talking about like I know people that lived in Mexico, lived there for 4, 5, 10, 20 years, don't speak any Spanish. And why is that? Because they're not learning it. And why they learning it is it's a myriad of different reasons. Sometimes people just comfortable not speaking Spanish because you can just learn just speak English to people, stay in an English expat bubble and not experience cultures outside of your own. Terrible learning methods like I mentioned earlier, and just giving up when things get tough, right? So the plan with the Spanish learning system is to remove a lot of friction, keep you engaged. That way, have a more fun and engaged experience because the more engaged you are with something, the longer you're going to stick with it, and you're going to have to stick with it in order to learn Spanish because it's not something like I said earlier that you're just going to learn in 30, 90 days. But if we could get you to stay with it longer, to stick with it longer, that is the secret right there. If I can get you to stick to Spanish longer, keep it fun, keep it engaged, get you to get quick wins like speaking and learn how to build sentences and being immersed and talking to people. The quicker I get you to that, the quicker you don't need anybody else. You won't even need me anymore, right? You can just go on with your life and just you start speaking Spanish and but then tell people about me though too. Like don't forget about your boy. Don't forget about me, you know what I'm saying? But you don't have to like stay around because you already learning Spanish, you're independent, and that's the goal, right? And I wish I would have had this when I was learning Spanish back in the day because it would have changed. It would have, oh my God, it would have saved me so much time and money and frustration, blood, sweat, tears. I'm talking about real tears. I'm talking about I was, in the beginning, man, I almost quit, man. I almost gave up speaking Spanish. It was almost about to be like, I was almost like, fuck this, man. I was like, man, I'll never learn Spanish, dog. But I'm glad I stuck with it. And if I would have had this Spanish learning system, I would have stuck with it a lot. Probably would have learned Spanish a lot sooner than 26, 25, 26. I might have learned it in my teenage years. Then I could have, who knows what I would have been, you apply that. Like, I'm 32 now. So it's like, go 21 instead of 20, 5 years earlier, I would still be, I probably would have made this channel sooner. Who knows? I would have did other cool things. Who knows what I would have done, right? But we can't look into the past. We're only looking to the now. So yeah, that's pretty much it for me, though. I don't really have too much else, man. But I do want you to know that learning Spanish will change your life. Trust me, it changed mine, changed everybody around me's life, and I've seen it change other people's lives as well. So it's one of the best things you can do, y'all. So if you're tired of struggling with Spanish, you're tired of wasting your time, wasting your money, go in the link in the description box below and check out my Spanish learning system, y'all. Yeah, man, let's become bilingual and change the world, y'all. It's your boy Lou signing out. Peace.